Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A pleasure to have you here with us this evening. If you could just kick off with a brief introduction to the film, what can audiences expect from The Good Nurse?
So The Good Nurse is the story of America's most prolific serial killer, but it's mostly the story of the woman who caught him.
And of course, there was the existing book about the story, but how did you go about kind of taking the story and adapting it for the screen?
The book, The Good Nurse by Charles Graeber, is absolutely incredible, and it's the reason I wanted to do this project. It was handed to me, I read it, and I thought, my God, I have to tell this story. I suppose the biggest challenge in adapting the story is the book takes place over Charles Cullen's whole life and really focuses on him, and when I wanted to tell the story, I thought it should be about Amy.
And what kind of research did you have to undertake and kind of, I guess, get this feeling of an understated kind of thriller in a way, like not kind of over-dramatizing sections of it and just letting the kind of sinister message just shine through for itself?
I mean, I thought the fact that this was the true story and that this had happened was the scariest thing about it, and so I didn't want to invent, I didn't want to be salacious, I wanted it to feel real. I wanted you to move through this movie as Amy had moved through that time period in her life and slowly realised her best friend was a serial killer. So it was difficult, but it was never impossible, and with the help of very smart collaborators, we managed to pull it off.
And, I mean, having these two actors portray these two characters, I mean, must have been the dream. I don't know if you had them in mind when you were writing, but again, just kind of like really understated, very naturalistic. What was it like seeing Eddie and Jessica take on these roles?
I mean, Oscar winner, Eddie Redmayne, Oscar winner, Jessica Chastain. Yeah, it's very difficult. No, it was, I mean, the absolute privilege of a life to be on set, to watch them bring this to life. When you have actors like that, you never worry as a writer, and actually you start taking dialogue out because you know it can be acted.
And was it right that you also had real-life doctors and nurses kind of in the surrounding, which I think obviously really made an impact, because you do really feel like you are there on the hospital ward?
Yes, no, we had real doctors, real nurses, we had on-set advisors. We really wanted to make it feel true and feel real, and the only way you could do that is with the real people.
And I guess kind of, you know, in terms of the takeaways, however sort of insidious you think of Charlie, perhaps far more so is the system that allowed him to do what he did. You know, that's probably the scariest thought. What do you think you hope people take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Charles Cullen was a terrifying serial killer. I think the reason he killed for so long was that the American healthcare system sort of let him rampage through it. I think when you put profit over patience, you invite tragedy.
And of course, on the other side of it, this one incredible woman who was brave enough to come out and fight against that system and break that pattern.
Yeah, I mean, working class, single mum, nurse, she shouldn't be the one to catch America's most prolific serial killer. It should have been the system, it should have been the cops. It wasn't, and it was left to her, and actually the fact that she did it with compassion, with humanity, I think is like a real beacon of hope, and it's the reason I wanted to write this story.
And thinking of all those nurses and doctors that do work their asses off, think of our own NHS, it's good to celebrate them too.
My God, you know, I got to do research, I got to work in hospitals, I got to shadow nurses. They are the everyday heroes. We don't pay them enough. Even at 10 times we wouldn't be paying them enough. You know, they saved our lives during the pandemic, and they do it every day.
Very quickly, how does it feel to be here in London, and what's your next project?
I love being in London so much. I live here. It's nice to walk from my house to the cinema, although not in these heels. And I'm not allowed to talk about my next project. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Thanks so much for your time. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.